What's happening, you guys? You've come to the right place. It's the Proclivity podcast. You can call it home if you want. Okay? We create a safe space for you to listen freely and to be able to get incredible information that can be applied directly to your life. We don't complicate things here. What we do is we get straight to the point. We also do that in the Proclivity method. It's our flagship program. It's what we do. It's tested. It's true. It's tried. It's ready to rock. We're ready to rock with you. If you're ready to create a healthier body and happier life, we want you. Like the army, right? That was like a slogan, like, we want you. And Uncle Sam was like
forget what
pointing.
that's for.
I think it was like, wasn't that like World War II or something? Like, we want you.
Oh,
Is that right?
I think you're right.
Okay. Coach Emily,
What's happening?
I came up with a business idea.
Tell me.
Very, very profitable. We had a situation this morning. We got done with a run. Emily forgot her towel. I had a mini towel, right? Kind of like a sweat towel. And I had my full-length towel. And at first, I was being a gentleman and a scholar and saying, hey, you can have my entire towel. And Emily, of course, refused, did not receive. And so then I said, okay, I got to meet her halfway here. I'll give her the hand towel. And how did the hand towel work out?
It was great. Just thinking to myself, why do I need a full towel? You know, so long as my house isn't freezing. Even then, cold exposure, it's great. It's good for you. But it worked great.
Right? Think about it. Like, what if we created a towel that was bigger than a hand towel, smaller than a full body towel? That really what you're working on is like, hey, I just need to dry off to get my clothes on. Like going to the gym and this and that. We make it stylish. We make it dry quick, antimicrobial, like all the jazz. And we make it cool. Like, is that $1 million idea?
Possibly.
Okay.
You know, it's soft talk, but you know.
So it all depends. You know how Emily does it. You guys, today on episode 83, we're going to be releasing to you our trusty brands list. Listen, I looked this up this morning. It was 6.6. Is that right? 6. Hold on. Let me make sure that I get this correct. $6.6 trillion spent in 2021 on retail sales. We buy a lot here in America, and there's a lot of people who create businesses, just like we talked about on a towel. Oh, here, we'll create a half-size towel, and people would buy it, right? We're consumers. We buy. Western society. We've talked about this many times. It's great. It's what makes America great. Yet we should be very cautious in what we're buying. Is it proven? Is it going to work? Are we investing our money? Are we going to get return on our money? Are we just spending our money? And so what we're going to do today, guys, in episode 83, is we're going to go over the brands that we've tested that are Proclivity approved. So you don't have to go, I don't know really much about, this brand, or is this the right protein powder, or is this snack really healthy, or should I be using this household product? What about my beauty products? What about my shampoo? All these different things we're going to help walk you through today. We're going to give you show notes. You can go back. You can go, okay, that's the brand. Go to that brand. Get that brand. You don't have to think. We've tested it. And when we Proclivity approve it, it's as golden as a seal it can be. Emily tried to mute her mic when she had to cough. She'd been feeling a little down, you guys. This is just a real podcast. We don't audit. Oh, there it is again. Okay. She's trying to get a little water at this. You doing okay?
We'll see.
We're going to see. All right, you guys. Let's dive into today. You guys are going to get a lot out of this. Make sure to jot down notes. If not, you can go to the show notes. We will put in there the time in which we talk about each category. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about snacks and household items and protein. And we're going to break down the whole Trusty Brands list. And if you're real nice to us, we might even share you our Trusty Brands document. Yet you got to go through Emily with that one. You got to go through Emily with that one. All right, let's dive in, shall we, Coach?
Let's go.
Let's go. Cool. Let's chat about it. Let's first talk about consumer sales. We already talked a little bit about this. $6.6 trillion were spent in retail alone in 2021. Does that surprise you?
No. Like you said, in America especially, we buy a lot of stuff. And more, what I'm more curious about is the marketing side of things, right? How are we marketed towards the advertising? Man, yeah, all of that.
Yeah, well, $297 billion is spent in advertising in 2021. $297 billion to be able to put a product in front of your eyeballs, to be able to get you to go, wow, this packaging looks real great. Oh, they said that it's going to get that stain out. Right? Oh, it's going to make my hair shiny and full and with all the volume.
Or it's heart healthy.
Right? You put a little bumblebee on a package for cereal and say it's heart healthy. And we run to it and go, it's heart healthy. Great. I wonder what's heart healthy, really. And another thing to be able to consider when we're talking about consumer sales, okay, first, we're spending a lot. Second, they're advertising crazy amounts. Look at the Super Bowl. Look at the whole reason why college football is college football. Why do you guys think that college football is college football and that the TV packages are so ridiculous and college coaches getting paid so much and now students are getting paid? Is because the advertising dollars that they're willing to spend, the advertisers, not the TV, not ESPN. ESPN gets paid off the advertisers who say, hey, for $10 million, can I get 30 seconds? Sure. You're going to give me $10 million? Great. So then all of a sudden those TV packages get huge. Coaches get paid more. Athletes get paid more. Right? We end up in this position of getting a lot of advertising in our eyeballs. Yet, here's the question, Coach. When it comes to healthy products, like what we're going to talk about today, the things that we're consuming, the things that are around us, how do we know that they're quality? How do we know that they're healthy? Is there any regulation? What's the difference between, regulations here in America compared to Europe or elsewhere? Just a rough. We're not getting too deep into this, but just a rough.
Yeah, it's tough to know in America because, like you just said, our standards are not very high. It's basically the FDA saying, hey, this is safe for you to eat, like safe in quotation marks, right? Like it won't kill you if you eat it once. Yet, when you go and look at Europe standards or other countries, they have much higher standards in terms of certain ingredients that they're not allowed to have in their products. And so the way that I go about looking to see if a product is safe is getting to know the ingredient list. And that's hard for the common consumer. Right. It takes time and it's confusing. And you're like, well, I don't know. There's 100 things in this ingredient list. How am I supposed to know what that is?
Right.
So, yeah, it's tough. It's tougher here in America for sure.
Yeah. And there's, say you have I'm gonna throw this out, a box of cereal that's in America. You look at the ingredients list, right? And there's 25 different ingredients on it. You go to Europe, same advertising, same box. You flip it around, you look at the ingredients. There's half the amount of ingredients, correct?
Yeah, like I saw a classic example of ketchup, Heinz ketchup, same company.
Yep.
in different ingredients. There's corn syrup used in America, sugar used in Europe, different no dyes versus dyes, all the things. It's pretty wild when you start looking into it.
Super wild. Super wild. Yet again, we live busy lives. We're trying to make decisions. What ketchup should I get for the barbecue? You know, we're doing dessert, and we're doing salad, and we're doing what kind of dressings and sauces do I need to get? I don't know. This says organic. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Or it's Heinz. Like everyone uses Heinz. It's fine, right?
It's American brand.
Yeah.
And so today, guys, we're going to be talking about those different products. Specifically, what we're rolling into next is those poor products, the products that we might be taking, thinking like, "Oh, this is good for me. Oh, this I should be having this." And actually, let's look at it in a different light. So let's talk about some of the common poor products that we might see on the shelves, starting off with supplementation, particularly protein. We talk about how important protein is. Protein powder's been around since the bodybuilding days, right? Gotta get your protein in.
Mm-hmm.
Yet all proteins aren't made equal. And there's a lot of protein bars out there. Oh, I'll have my protein bar on my way to work. Can we touch into that in terms of proteins, protein powders, protein bars, and where that common misconception can be in terms of it being healthy or not healthy?
Yeah. There's a lot that go into the protein powders. And that's a very common question I get is, okay, what's a good protein powder, right? Because we talk about all the time with supplements, they should be quality, just like our food. And so the problem with protein powders are a couple of things. One, I always look at what's the sweetener that they're using. A lot of them are using fake sugars, which some people can get away with, yet the research is mixed still on whether or not it can lead to other health issues down the road. Yet, so my advice is to avoid it to reduce risk overall and stick to something like stevia or even real sugar or say coconut sugar, but in small amounts. So I look at what's a sweetener. I look at what type of protein, and that's going to depend the person. So if you can tolerate dairy and whey, you're going to want to look towards, is it a quality whey? And whey, we know now whey isolate is the one that gets absorbed best. It's most bioavailable. So you get the most bang for your buck in terms of absorption. And I look for a grass-fed whey, for example, because that's going to get you the most nutrients in terms of that, again, the quality of the protein. If you don't, then I look to, okay, a lot of people come to us saying, hey, I don't do well with dairy, so what's my next best option? A lot of people come to me with being on pea protein, for example. Again, that might work for some people, but it's usually not optimal for a couple of reasons. Usually not optimal for digestion. It's harder for a lot of people to digest. And two, it's not as bioavailable. So say you're taking 20 grams of pea protein, you're probably not absorbing half of that. Could be like 12, 15 grams maybe, but it's more towards half of that. So then I have a favorite one that's a beef isolate mixed with collagen. So then you're getting that complete protein source. And there's minimal ingredients in terms of, this is the next factor that I look at, fillers. So a lot of them will have things like sunflower or soy lecithin. And I look to avoid those or minimize those as much as possible. One, for digestive reasons. Two, for just quality in general. Again, going back to quality of ingredients and what is it doing to our body. And so, so there's a lot to look around there. And I should say the last part I look for is a trusted brand in terms of the processing. A lot of protein powders have heavy metals and all sorts of other things added to them. And so again, really when we're looking at a protein powder, we want a very small ingredient list. And we want to make sure the sweetener is good, the actual protein is quality, and then it's a trusted brand overall. So they're testing for heavy metals, for example.
Got you. And so, I mean, what are some of the protein powders that before we start working with our clients that they're using? Do you know any particular brands that we would steer them away from?
feel bad doing this, but
No, I don't.
yeah. So Orgain is a really popular one that's sold at Costco, right? Because they sell a lot of plant proteins that I would not recommend taking simply
Sure.
because of a few of the ingredients that I just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And a report came out recently saying that they weren't testing for heavy metals. And when you don't do that, to me, like if you're going to have a quality product, you're going to do the extra things and you're going to have a quality product and you're going to advertise it. So when they don't say those things, to me, that they're trying to hide something, right? And so I just don't trust it.
Right.
And sometimes maybe it is a good thing and maybe it's not, but if they're not advertising it, it's hard for us to know, right?
Right.
So I'd rather know for sure than gamble if it's something I'm taking daily and weekly. So, Orgain, there's a lot of like pea proteins out there in general. Again, just I haven't found really maybe Naked's a brand that I really trust in terms of quality and minimal ingredients. I believe they have a pea protein. Yeah, I recommend if you're going to go the non-dairy route, go for like an egg white protein or the beef protein or even a collagen, even though it's not complete. So just because of digestive issues. So it goes on and on, right?
Look at you.
But yeah.
You can't even. This is you guys. This is a perfect example of Emily. Like she can't. I'm like, hey, tell me the ones we need to avoid. She's like, well,
I know.
here are the great ones that we should be taking. All right, I'll do it then. Right? If you're going to Costco and you're getting the black and gold bag, stop it. Okay.
Yeah,
stop
standard.
it. All right.
Yes.
If you're going to GNC and you're getting the massive tub, right, that you could fit a small rhino in, okay, stop it. There's a reason it is so big and so bulk made. Yeah. Take a look at the ingredients. When it is that big and that massive, you need to be cautious and careful. If there's 15 different labels on there and there's different colors and there's fireworks exploding, this is the $297 billion that they're spending on advertising and marketing.
Yeah.
They're marketing it to you. When really a product that is solid does not need marketing. Here's my example. Have you ever in your life, it depends on where you're at in the United States and where you're listening to. I'm going to ask you then, Emily. Have you ever in your life seen an In-N-Out commercial?
No.
Have you ever in your life seen an In-N-Out in a magazine or some type of flyer? They do not do marketing. The only marketing they do is a billboard before the next exit. How do I know this? Because I sat down with an owner of an In-N-Out. And that's what I said. They're like, why do we need to market? Our product's good enough. And you're right. And they're lined out the freaking door. So when they're throwing fireworks at you guys, be cautious. Be careful.
So yeah, gold standard, like you mentioned, that's the one that's usually sold at either Costco or the GNC or the vitamin shop. Orgain, again, another popular one because it's been at Costco recently. Ghost protein. I mean, again, these are all very fancy ones and marketed very well.
Got you. Okay. What about protein bars?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I used to be a protein bar addict. It was like my candy, right? I was like, oh, at least I'm getting some protein and it's not as high in sugar. Yet I was wondering why I was having so many digestive issues. There's so many ingredients in there that's not whole food. So same idea as the protein powders, yet I've really heavily moved away from these because I truly have not found a really good one in terms of your classic thinking protein bar that's like chocolatey or peanut butter or whatever. I can't find one with good ingredients, to be honest. There's a few like Dang, but it's not like a protein bar. There's like 6 grams, I think, maybe in there. So I can't even call that a protein bar because it's not sufficient enough. It'd be like a good little add-on or snack. So Dang, D-A-N-G, has good ingredients. Otherwise, I go now for jerky or like we just had yesterday, chomp sticks or Epic bars. Some kind of actual meat or real whole food protein in it. I've leaned into those. Is enticing as the chocolatey protein bars are. Again, I used to love those and rely on those daily as my sweet treat. But I've moved away seeing the benefit of, one, not getting those weird ingredients, and two, digestively feeling better and not having the cravings as much for sweets because of that too.
Cool. So what protein bars did you used to eat that we would say, hey, if you're chomping on these daily, and here's again, like, I want to ask you this before you get into that.
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose of protein bars?
Just, yeah, get more protein or have a snack. But in my eyes, the purpose is to get some additional protein that tastes good, that's easy and fast.
Is that what we should be doing?
No, I mean, here and there if we need to, but no, ideally we're prioritizing our meals in general rather.
Right. And we've talked about this, you guys. If you're not prioritizing your meals and getting enough protein in your meal, we're going to get advertised, oh, you're not getting enough protein, so hey, have this in between your meals. Yet protein bars in general are going to be filled with a bunch of nonsense because they want you to go, oh man, I'm craving that protein bar, that chocolate, sea salt, caramel.
I get it.
but it's 0 grams. Well, yeah, because it has loaded with fake sugars.
Right.
Which is psyching out your mind on, like, wait, are we getting real sugars or fake sugars? What's going on here? So on and so forth. So when it comes to those protein bars, is it really more of a gimmick?
Yeah, definitely. So the common ones I see are Think Thin, Cliff Bars, Builders. Is it Builders?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a few, so like RX bars I used to really like until they got bought out by I think it's Kellogg's, and so they're being more mass produced, and I'm weary of the quality now.
Right.
They're not organic products, so you're getting non-organic dates and egg whites and everything they're made out of, right? So that's my go-to if I have to go to one and I just need a snack. I'm on the road. I want something sweet, but it's not something I'm going to have daily or weekly anymore.
Gotcha.
The Quest protein bars, they are on the better side, but again, there's like cornmeal in there. There's for some people whey protein, I don't know the quality, to be honest, of that brand. And the ingredients just aren't ideal in terms of digestion, and they're not whole food ingredients. So it's tough. Protein bars are definitely tough. That's why I prefer protein powder, because it's more plain and simple if you're getting the right one.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So we're still skimming over, guys, the common pork products that we tend to have throughout the day. Now let's go to food. Right? We talked about supplements, why we utilize them, some of the poor ones. When it comes to food, where do we get caught up with that advertising in terms of that the food part of it?
Yeah. So a lot of the snacky type stuff. So, this is a keto snack. This is paleo. Oh, this is low sugar. This has nuts and seeds in it. This has dark chocolate. Right. And again, some of that every once in a while is fine. But when you're relying on that as a daily snack or treat, and you're having health issues, whether it be digestive, whether it be you can't lose weight, energy, all of these things, we're not eating whole foods daily in terms of the majority. So yeah, we see it a lot with people like, it's keto or it's paleo, but guess what? In a paleo snack, there's often sunflower oil. And sunflower oil is a tricky one. There's some research showing it's okay, but it's still a seed oil, and it's not in its proper form. It's not a good structure to be heated, and it's contributing to those overload of omega-6s that we get a lot of. So I avoid that one, along with the canola oils, the hydrogenated oils, the soybean oils, all the other ones too. So that's a really popular one in what's labeled as keto or paleo. And it's not helpful for our health.
Right. So there's a lot, again, advertising in terms of paleo, non-GMO, no antibiotics ever given, right? When really isn't that FDA, like you can't give antibiotics?
No, they were definitely doing that. I think they're coming out with newer standards to where it's not. But well, I think what you're thinking of, there's some products labeled as that, but it's like you wouldn't do that to that specific animal anyways. It's like saying like you're selling a vegetable that says gluten free. Like, well, duh. Yeah. So, but I used to laugh at that, but you'd be surprised looking at labels of like even meat. Like there's grass-fed meat at Costco that started out with canola oil and sugar added to it. And you're like, oh, I didn't think you could really screw it up. But yeah, you added those things, and some have flours added to them where you're like, yeah, you think that should be gluten-free, but they add stuff to it all the time.
Right.
So it really does help to pay attention to the ingredient list, even though you're like, no, that's fine. Because I get so many people, including myself, of like, oh, no, it's a vegetable. It's good to go, right? No, look at the oil. Look at the added ingredients.
Right, right. So when it comes to snacks and foods, being able to look at those labels and, again, be very wary.
Yeah.
In terms of what's being on there. Fat-free, sugar-free, paleo, GMO, keto. They're going to put anything and everything. They're going to put fireworks on there to be able to go, this is great for you. Yet, if it's organic, it doesn't mean that's great for you, right? It can be organic cane sugar. And if you're eating spoonfuls of organic cane sugar, you're still going to get sick.
Yeah, and like the low fat. Anytime something says low fat, they're going to be adding sugar back into it to help make it an actual product. And then they're going to be adding those other weird oils that when they say heart healthy, when it says sugar free or low sugar, they're going to be adding in those fake sugars. And then like salad dressings, in like we're talking about ketchup, those are common, like, oh, low sugar. But again, they're adding those weird things in there, and the oil most likely is not a good one. So
That's right. That's right. Cautious and wary. Caution, wary of being able to, when we start getting those snacks and foods. And we're going to give you guys all the brands that we love here in just a moment. But meantime, we're going to take a commercial break. And no, I'm just kidding. Okay, moving in, last part. Household products. This is a part that a lot of people miss when it comes to their overall health. When we're talking about household products, what are the products we should really be looking at and considering?
It's a tough one for people. Laundry detergent, I would say number one, because it's the one that people are like, no, I mean, this is just my smell. I've had this since growing up, and my laundry's going to smell terrible if I don't use it. It's definitely a different. There's a transition, but yeah, laundry detergent has lots of fragrance and chemicals in it that you are not only running through all of your clothes, but then you're wearing the clothes, they're touching your skin, they get in your body, and they're endocrine disruptors. So laundry detergent, what goes along with that are household cleaners that you use daily and weekly. So you clean the countertops or the floors or the toilet or something that you, again, daily, weekly, that you use. It's getting into the air, you're using it, or it's on a towel with your hand. Again, it's getting into your body one way or another. And endocrine disruptors with those fragrances and toxins that we are not meant to be around. And then people wonder why they have thyroid problems or get this random mysterious rash or diagnosis of an autoimmune issue. These things matter. Next on the list, Tupperware, plastic Tupperware. If we could just get rid of all the plastic Tupperware. But specifically, if you're like, okay, I'm making the slow transition, stop storing liquids or hot food or microwaving anything in a plastic container.
Right.
Stop getting bottled water. I know it's convenient. Take the extra step. Those, again, endocrine disruptors. And then there's things, of course, like beauty products. So lotions, shampoos, makeup. Deodorant is a big one, right? It's not just about getting the one that is that doesn't have aluminum. Yes, that's step number one, but there's a lot of other things. Again, the fragrances that go along with that and all the weird stuff that goes in there. Fragrances is a broad umbrella term for a lot. It could be lots of different things. It could be okay. It could be something like an essential oil within that, or something safer. But usually they're fragrances that wreak havoc in our body. We're not meant to have. So perfumes, unfortunately, that's another tough one for people. But again, we're looking at all these things. I'm not telling you to get rid of absolutely everything right off the bat. That can be overwhelming. But consider these things. If you're having symptoms, if you're not losing the weight, if you're not sleeping, you have headaches, rashes, autoimmune issues, you're getting diagnosed, whatever, start looking at these things and chipping away and going down the list. What do I use daily and weekly? Start there because that's the lowest hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't think about this stuff, and it can be having a huge effect on your health. You may be wondering, like, I've done all the things, and I've I'm doing the healthy foods and the organic, and I'm getting locally sourced, yet something's still off. This is where we come in with Proclivity and the Proclivity method of looking at a few facets of being able to look at it and go, okay, let's look at it in terms of psychologically. How stressed are you? That's going to have play into it, huge play into it. And then also, what are you surrounding yourself with? And what does that look like? Those things are huge factors, and usually that's the X factor for a lot of people when it comes to being able to make that final push or that final change to really establish their health.
Totally.
Love it. Love it. All right. Now we've talked about it. We talked about how these different products can affect us, the top ones. Now it's time to roll into our trusty brands list. This is something that we've put together because after years of testing things and trying out, and we still to this day spend a lot of money on research and development for you guys, so you don't have to do it. And this list continues to grow, and we're looking forward to sharing it with you today. So let's dive into it. Trusty brands list. Let's start off with food and snacks. So we're going to go food and snacks in general here, guys. This is all going to be in the show notes. So you can go back if you're like, oh man, the meats and fish, what time was that during the podcast? They said the XYZ brand. Just take a look at the show notes. You can go back and take a look at it. And again, if you're really nice to Emily, maybe for Christmas, you'll get the trusty brands list sent to you. Okay.
You can email me or message me, and we can figure that out.
Okay, she's being nice already. I'm trying to play hard to get. She ain't having it. Okay, let's start off. Let's start off with protein. We're going to go down the list, guys. We're going to categorize it. Let's start off with meat and fish. Meat and fish.
Yeah. My most trusted new favorite brand is Force of Nature. If you don't have a local farmer, which that is what I would do first, but second, if you don't have that, if you live in a different area, start with that. Force of Nature is a company that will send you some meat and you can pick out different options. Other ones that are similar to that I trust, Butcher Box, grass-fed animals, heritage raised pork. Vital Choice is great for fish. US Wellness Meats has a variety of ones as well. And then again, if you live in the Reno area, my favorite go-to for ground beef is, man, I don't know, it's a hard name to pronounce. Venturaci Farms.
You think they're Italian or what?
Oh my gosh. Her name's Beth Schuler. I can give you their number and information, but great family-owned farm. They do great ground beef, and then I do at the farmers market here in Reno, Hole in One. They do a lot of awesome, huge variety of meats, all great quality.
Awesome.
So that's it for the meats and fish or the proteins.
Awesome. And being able to have solid meats and fish is important because
that's our priority when we're eating. If you do our program, you'll learn protein is your priority. Anytime you're grocery shopping, building your plate, preparing food, because most people don't get enough protein, and usually it's because we don't have enough prepared.
Gotcha. Well, let's dive into the next category, one that most people are going to be like, oh, good, I'm glad we're at that one. Chips, crackers, and cookies. Chips, crackers, and cookies. There's a lot of poor ones out there. Yet, if you're making the transition of moving into more whole foods, instead of just completely ditching all the crackers and the cookies and the chips, we have some better brands for you. So let's dive into that. What does that look like?
Yeah. Joel and I's favorite, Mary's Gone crackers. I sometimes have those daily. I add them to my eggs, my salads, dip them in hummus. They're great for everything. They're a seed cracker. Another favorite, banana plantain chips, because you'll notice places like Sprouts or Trader Joe's, they have plantain chips, but they use canola oil. The banana brand uses coconut oil, which is my favorite. It's great. And they taste great. Sprouts and Thrive Market have their own brand, and they have a lot of grain-free chips and options. Just again, check the oil that they use. Check for making sure that they're using coconut or avocado oil, because they do have some others that are not using those. Those are good too. Epic pork rinds. If you're a pork rind person, Epic brand is quality. They use quality animals. I hear people all the time like, "Do you recommend pork rinds?" I'm like, yeah, it's a great source of fat and protein if you're getting it from a quality source. Another one that I do enjoy as more of a treat, the 4505 brand of pork rinds at Costco, because they add a little bit of coconut sugar, but it is a very little amount. So again, a great treat. Siete brand. Lots of people know about that one. They're getting bigger and bigger. They have not only chips, but they have some cookies, sauces, like quote unquote cheese dips. They're expanding, and they have lots of tortilla options that are grain-free and really good ingredients overall. If you're looking for, you're not wanting to get into baking paleo goods because you're like, that's just too much for me. Capello's is a great cookie dough brand, all paleo ingredients. And then same with Simple Mills cookies. Those are my treat as well if I'm not like wanting to bake or have time to bake, but I want a cookie. They have some good options. Now they're crackers, on the other hand, they do use sunflower oil. So I will have those now and again, but I will not use those as my daily or weekly cracker because of that reason. But yeah, those are my favorite brands for that category.
And with chips, crackers, and cookies, one of the things that we still suggest, hey, that these are healthier brands. We've vetted them, we know them, we've researched them. Yet, you're still going to overdo it. Right?
Especially if you're eating nuts and seeds on the side, and then you go and eat a cracker or chip that's filled with nuts and seeds, like almond flour, and you're having GI problems, 100% stay away from those for a period of time, or just make sure you portion it out and take notice of how much nuts and seeds you're getting in the day, for sure.
And why would you be having poor GI issue with that much?
Yeah, they're fatty foods, fibrous, and and hard to digest for a lot of people. If it's over moderation, in terms of like if you're just eating a lot of it, it's not helpful. And they have a lot of omega-6s. So those polyunsaturated fats that lead to more inflammation. So although they're a good quality product, again, it's with anything, especially the omega-6s, we tend to get too many of those.
Right.
So keep that in check for sure.
Got you. Okay, so we've talked about eating fish, cookies and crackers. What about in the morning? Cereals and oats and oatmeal, so on and so forth. The people that are like, oh man, like I do my overnight oats or I have my cereal in the morning or even a treat at night. What do we suggest here?
Yeah, that's a tough one. If you're having any kind of health issues, I actually don't recommend a sweet breakfast, but I understand that can be hard for a lot of people. So try mixing it up. Have half your mornings with the savory, such as eggs or meat, and then half with potentially one of these cereals that I'll list off, but make sure you're adding a protein to it. But yeah, some better cereal or oat options. Thrive Market has a great like coconut flake cereal that's supposed to mimic Frosted Flakes. It's definitely not sweet like that, but now for me, it's like a little sweet and I love it. Three Wishes brand, if you do well with garbanzo beans and a little bit of pea protein, it's a great option. But again, with this, like we just mentioned, if you overdo it, you might get a stomach ache. My even more favorite brand, Lovebird, it's a little pricier, but they use coconut oil and cassava flour. It looks like a Cheerio, and that's what I give my son as a treat too, like just to mix up the texture of things. As a little snack, we'll do like yogurt, peanut butter, and protein powder as a treat with that brand, Lovebird. I love the brand 1 Degree because they sprout their oats and grains, which sprouting is a whole nother subject, but it's much better to have it or soaked seeds, grains in general, because they're way easier to digest. So 1 Degree does a great job with their oats, and they're certified gluten-free because not all oats are. If you are doing an AIP diet, so an autoimmune paleo protocol, there's a brand called Wild Zora. One that's a little sweeter, Purely Elizabeth. I still think that's okay. I personally don't do well with it digestively, I think because of the sugar, and it's so easy for me to overeat that stuff. So I stay away from it personally, but it's a good brand in terms of quality of ingredients. I know, Joel, you love Seven Sundays. I've not tried that specific one, but it is good ingredients, to my knowledge, that I remember from what I remember looking at. And then Magic Spoon is an okay one. It's not something I have daily because it's a lot of processed ingredients. They use whey. When I say processed ingredients, they use a lot of like sugar alcohols, and for some people digestively, it's hard to handle. And then it uses whey protein. So for those of you who do well with whey, that might be a great treat option. But if you don't, skip that. That's Magic Spoon.
Well, and Magic Spoon does monk fruit too, right?
Yeah, and so some people they do well with monk fruit, but not with erythritol, or vice versa. So you got to figure out what feels good for you. And for me, it's just if I overdo it, if I have more than say like a cup, my stomach's a wreck, right? But if I stick to like a handful or a cup or less, I'm usually fine.
Yeah, and that's what I've found with. I mean, my sweet treat is cereal, right? Where that's putting in my yogurt or just having it dry. And I found that Seven Sundays is really good dry, and 3 Wishes is actually a little bit better with some type of milk.
Yeah, it's plain. I get the plain kind at least.
Exactly. I've also found that eating too much of 3 Wishes because of the pea protein in there can really make my stomach turn as well. So all things to be able to consider, guys, when going into the cereal world. These are all really good brands, and I would suggest trying each one out because even the textures are different. Like 3 Wishes compared to Lovebird, compared to Seven Sundays.
Very different. Yeah.
Seven Sundays is a big crunch, right? Compared to, Lovebird, which is a little bit more airier, lighter crunch. And so try it. We're basically talking and it has a hint of sage at the finish.
But Joel and I, we're connoisseurs of cereal and cookies.
No doubt.
So trust us.
Yeah, for real. Okay, so those are your cereals and oats. Let's move into bread, pizza, tortillas, right? Things that people like to have as, oh man, it's the weekend. We're going to watch Sunday football. Let's make some burritos or a pizza, or, we're going to make some sandwiches. What are the ones that we suggest here?
Yeah, so typically I stick to gluten-free just because it's a safer, risk-averse option for most people. Yet if you do well with gluten, again, you don't have many symptoms going on, then an Ezekiel bread would be great because they are sprouted. They do sprouted seeds. Or if you find another brand that does anything sprouted, or sourdough, like a legit sourdough bread, where you make your own. And there's a sourdough pizza crust. Some companies do that. So that'd be a great place if you do well with gluten. Yet for a lot of people who don't, again, I love Siete brand because they do a lot of tortillas, lots of different kinds. They do burrito size, a little kind, almond flour, or cassava, all the different types. So depending on what works best for you, there's options. Capello's is the same brand I mentioned before with the cookie dough, but they also do pizzas. So any of you pizza lovers out there, there's a frozen pizza of Capello's, and they have some different options. Yet I think you have to do well with dairy because they do use cheese. Base Culture is a great brand if you're going to do some toast here and there. Usually you find it in the refrigerator or freezer section at, say, Whole Foods or Natural Grocers. I'm not actually sure if Sprouts has it, but a lot of places are starting to get it. They have a paleo or keto grain-free types of breads that are actually really good if you're looking for like a typical small bread option. So yeah, those tend to be the options, or bake something yourself, or skip. I challenge people to skip these things and try a bowl, add in some veggies instead. But again, if you're like, oh, I'm kind of in between, or I want to treat myself with some tortillas or have some toast here and there, these are great options.
Yeah, and we're not saying hey, you can don't have gluten ever again. We do agree that for the most part, we need very little gluten, whether you're tolerant to it or intolerant to it. There just isn't a huge need for it. Yet, being able to make sure getting the highest quality of bread, pizza, tortillas, that's really important. I mean, we have people who, including myself, who's gluten intolerant, and there's some places that I can go and have gluten pizza, right? And it's different because the flour that they use, the wheat that they use,
Quality.
is so high, it doesn't affect me as the same as I going somewhere else.
Yeah,
And so
in the
that
process,
shows.
like with sourdough, if you're fermenting it, that can be the difference for you. So test it out.
Big time, big time. All right, for our Italian lovers, what about pasta?
Yeah, because I do have a lot of clients who are like, man, I'm Italian. This is a tough one. So I understand it is a different texture. So if you're going to do it, like if I was someone who loved pasta, which I'm not, I used to be, but I just don't anymore. But if I were, I would, and my brother does this, makes his own pasta. Get the nice quality flour. I'm blanking on the name that I actually like for the flour. King Arthur is like a good option. It's not the best. Central Milling is the brand that I really like in terms of quality flour. So I would, if I'm going to do like pasta, like, a couple times a month or more, I would look into making your own, or I would substitute these brands. So Jovial is a good option because they use cassava flour for a lot of theirs. Because a lot of, like Banza, I have on my list, but they use chickpea flour, and a lot of people don't do well with that digestively. So again, Jovial would be a different option. And then Capello's, they do, again, they're the brand who does the pizza and the cookie dough. They do a gnocchi and some other pastas like fettuccine. But honestly, my favorite gnocchi is from Trader Joe's. They have a cauliflower gnocchi that's just very simple ingredients, surprisingly. So if you're looking for a good gnocchi, cauliflower gnocchi from Trader Joe's is where it's at.
We're serving you guys up right now. Like, this is the cheat list, right? Like, being able to go, I don't have to think about it. Like, again, guys, we vetted this. This takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money, right? Because we've found brands like, okay, the ingredients looks good, and then we go to make them, like, wow, that is terrible. It tastes like cardboard. This is the worst, right? So we're finding the things that we can say to you, like, hey, great ingredients, and it tastes good too. You might have to pay more for it, yet we're just letting you know you have the option now. You have the ability. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's move into yogurts. I know for myself, I love using yogurt as a treat, a little bit of protein powder, maybe a few blueberries, a little bit of nut butter, and I'm in heaven, right? And it's less than 10 grams of sugar, in comparison of doing some ice cream or this and that, and I'm sticking at 65 or 80 grams of sugar. So let's dive into the yogurts. When we're talking about yogurts, what are the quality, what are the brands we trust?
Yeah. So if you do well with dairy, aka you don't have any issues like skin issues or gut health problems, that's typically how it goes. Then get a grass-fed yogurt. And I actually recommend full fat. I'm okay though if you're like, I want partial fat or fat free, but the fat is actually good for you if you're getting the grass-fed organic variety. It's what helps you absorb those fat soluble vitamins and keeps you more satiated. But I get it if you're like, I'm gonna skip out on the fat there. Yeah, again, grass-fed, organic if you can, if you're doing dairy. I stick to the dairy-free ones, but knowing that they're not as high in protein. So like Joel just mentioned, I do sometimes add protein powder as a treat to have a little protein paired with it. My favorite brand, which I now am very sad about, I can't find. So if anyone out there has seen it in a store, it's called Lava, Lavva. It's a dairy brand. They use coconut cream, plantains, and pili nuts. How cool is that?
Mm.
I understand. I'm a nerd. So I can't find it anymore. It was my favorite. If anyone finds it, let me know. Bellwether Farms, I should have mentioned this first. This is a great option if you're testing out different dairy products because they have one that's a sheep milk yogurt. And that can be easier. The enzymes in that are a little different than cow dairy. So I can handle that much better than full dairy. To me, it's like has a more of a sour taste, which I actually like. And so if you're using it as a substitute for like a sour cream or something, that's an awesome option. Maple Hill Creamery is also another great option if you're doing dairy. Again, going back though, if you're not doing dairy, you will spend a little bit more money yet. Forager is now at Costco, so I get the 2-pack for me and my son because we both don't do dairy very well. It's not the best tasting, but again, if you add some like nut butter or some berries to it, it's great. It's great. The better tasting ones on their own, Cucina, and then GTS coconut yogurt. Those are much pricier, yet a great treat here and there if you're going to have just plain yogurt. And for any of these, I always recommend the unsweetened, the plain, because you can always add your own stuff to it, without all the sugar.
Right, which is one of the things we're going to talk about is some of the protein powders that we suggest that are using different types of sugars, like coconut sugar, lower amounts of sugar. Yet it gives it a little bit of sweetness,
right?
So you can control the sweetness instead of getting punched in the mouth with 15 or 20 grams of sugar.
Yep, exactly.
Beautiful. Okay, so we covered the yogurt. Let's move on to something that people love. This for me, I don't get it. Right, you guys, I do a lot of audits, fridge audits. Right, what's it called? Hey, you're not going to see a lot of this in my fridge. Dressings, dips, and sauces. Some people live by it, right? And there are better options out there that taste good, and we're going to give them to you. Hold on, here it comes.
Yeah, number one, start paying attention to your hummus. Most hummuses use canola oil, rapeseed oil. Sadly, for all of you out there, bitchin' sauce, it uses rapeseed oil, which is the same thing as canola oil. Yeah, it's a sad one. So there are brands though, like Hope Hummus is what I get. So good.
Yeah.
Rayleigh's, like some random stores who make their own will also sometimes make it with olive oil. So just check the ingredient list. Dressings. Primal Kitchens is my go-to if I'm going to do a store-bought dressing. Otherwise, I just make it myself with a little bit of olive oil, lemon juice, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. Super simple and easy. But Primal Kitchens has all of them. They also do a ton of pasta sauces if you're not wanting to make your own. Super quick and simple. And then they all like dips too. So yes, Siete does them. Hope Hummus does a lot of dips. In terms of like a chip dip of fake, I hate saying fake cheese, but like again, if you don't do well with dairy, they have good ingredients because there's a lot of vegan options out there that are like the fake cheese that are not good ingredients. So again, these are good brands. So Hope Hummus, Holy Guacamole is a good option too. Primal Kitchen, Siete, all great ones. And in terms of hot sauce, Cholula is an okay option. It's not like organic, but the ingredients are fine. Like there's nothing weird in there.
Right.
Yellowbird is, I'm not a big hot sauce person, but my husband loves Yellowbird. They do like a kimchi hot sauce too.
Oh, yeah.
So start looking at the ingredients. It's the oils that tend to be the big one there.
Right. And that goes back to omega-3s, omega-6s, inflammatory, GI disruption, a lot of stuff that we talk about here, guys, making sure that you have a healthy gut microbiome, which helps when it comes to your energy, your sleep, your mental health. When your stomach's inflamed, right? You're not going to be thinking clearly. So,
and I should mention too, in things like ketchup and mustard, in things like ketchup and mustard, which Primal Kitchens has these options for us now. But with most other brands, they have like yellow dye, red dye, corn syrup, and these specifically the dyes, I should say, are known to mess up cognitive function. Can cause, can be a factor in autism in children. Like there's so many crazy things like cancer. So Oh man, and it's so commonly used.
It's
So
very commonly used.
pay attention to that ingredient label there.
Going back, guys, $6.6 trillion. Anybody can. The beautiful thing, again, about America, we wanted to start a business on creating half towels. We could. And
Good.
there really isn't going to be much, like whatever dyes or however we produce it. There's not going to be too many regulations there, when it comes to that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, if they ingest it, are they going to die immediately? No. Could they die in 20 years? Well, maybe. Okay.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we won't talk, but we approve then. Here's your stamp.
Yeah.
Right? Things to consider about, guys. Okay. For our sweet drinkers, whether that's a word or not, we're going to roll with it. The people that like to have sodas or bubbly water, what do we got for them?
Yeah. Well, for me, I'll start off with this. I do like a Pellegrino or a bubbly mineral water and add element and like a squeeze of orange or lime to it. That's my fancy go-to drink when I want one. My second one I go to is a kombucha. So some people don't do well digestively with kombuchas, or if you don't, try like a smaller portion, see if that's better. But I love a good kombucha. I water it down a little bit so it's less sweet, because they do use sugar to make kombucha. It's what the SCOBY eats to make the whole process a thing. So there's quite a bit of sugar. It's confusing on the label. Some don't list all the sugars, some do, and I think they're starting to have to, but look for a lower sugar one for sure. And have a third, a quarter, a half. I don't recommend drinking the whole thing in one sitting. That's a great option as opposed to a candy bar or a soda. Some actual soda replacement options I have for you. Zevias are great. To me, now they're too sweet, so I do water those down when I have them.
Yeah.
But if you're like a Pepsi or Dr. Pepper or drinker, something like that, they have these exact like replicas that taste just like it, but they use Zevia instead. So a lot less chemicals, no sugar. Is it like a healthy product? Probably not, but it's not like super damaging, and it's much, much better than a soda. So that's my option there. And then there's one more that's newer on the market, and there's a lot more coming out like this, but Lollipop is a good brand too. There's definitely some sugar in there, but good quality ingredients otherwise, and some prebiotics in there too.
Love it.
Yeah.
And with coming back, guys, again, this is a good way to start turning the ship. It takes a long time to turn the ship when it comes to to nutrition. When we work with people, yes, the Proclivity method is 3 months. It's in depth. It's a booster shot to the arm of like, man, let's get going, right? Yet we suggest that when you're making a change in your nutrition, your health, that you look 3 years out. You're looking 3 years out, and that's with guidance. That's with, hey, you're going to hang out with Proclivity, and you're going to continue in a path towards your nutrition and health. It took Emily and I'll speak for myself, it took me 10 years, 11 years, right, to be able to get to where I'm at now, because I did a lot of it on my own, figuring things out. What about this gluten intolerance, right? What type of food should I be having? How should I change? What should I be adding to my meals? How does getting sunlight in the morning help me? How does getting an appropriate amount of electrolytes and water help? All those things, and the entire time testing. It takes a while to turn a ship. So these are good alternatives, yet we're not saying like, cool, Zevia's for the rest of your life. You want to get to the point what Emily says is like, man, Zevia's are a little too sweet for me. Boom. The body has changed and said, ooh, man, that sweet stuff's overload. Now you're in a really good spot where the body has accepted the small amounts of sugar, where you can have the yogurt with some protein powder and a few berries and go like, oh my gosh, this is hitting me in the face so hard, right? Or a handful of cereal with coconut sugar, where it's like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever had in my life. Instead of thinking
candy,
that I need, a McFlurry or, a New York cheesecake, and that satisfies my sugar cravings. Speaking of sugar cravings, How about sweets?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. Yeah, so for the daily, look to things like we just mentioned. Like again, have a go-to for your sweets if you want something small and daily. So for me, I go to 85 to 95% dark chocolate. I use the Thrive Market brand or Hugh Kitchen brand because they use coconut sugar. There's no dairy in it. There's no soy or sunflower or lecithin. I try to minimize and avoid those two. That's my go-to. If it's not that, if I want something fun here and there, Smart Sweets is a better option because they use stevia. They do use, I believe, some monk fruit as well. So, and they use a lot of prebiotic fibers. So for some people, it's like kombucha. It can digestively be a little upsetting. So watch yourself on the portion size for sure. Yeah, they have things like Swedish fish, gummy bears, gummy worms, peach rings, those watermelon gummy things. They're a great treat every once in a while instead of the actual things that have, again, the red dyes in them, the corn syrup, all the crazy chemicals that we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So Smart Sweets, dark chocolate. There's a brand called Unreal that does some better like mimics of like a Snickers bar, Twix bar, yeah, stuff like that. Justin's peanut butter cups I will have here and there. But again, those are starting to taste super sweet to me as well. So again, the ingredients in terms of the dyes, how much sugar is in there. But those are my go-to for my treats are the dark chocolate, Smart Sweets if I want something gummy every once in a while.
Yes. And the way that I was able to get to the point where I really don't have sweet treats anymore, it's just I gave them up. Every once in a while, right, I'll have some cereal, some 7 Sundays. But the way that I got to where I'm at took, I'd probably say 2 years, 3 years of being aware of it, was starting off with chocolate and going darker and darker. So the great thing about dark chocolate, it's like, oh, okay, you have milk chocolate. Then you can go like 50%.
I can't even have that anymore.
Not anymore. And then you can go 60, and then you go 70, then you go 83. I mean, they go up. It's not just like by tens. It can be like 83 and 86%, 91%. And so being able to use that as a guide, and there'll be times where I'm at the point where it's full baker's bar, right? It's 100%. And I'll break a little bit of that off or shave a little bit into my yogurt. And again, it's delicious, right? So that's a way to be able to slowly move away from sweets, particularly if you guys are a chocolate type of person, because the higher you go in the dark chocolate, the less sugar it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And just don't keep it in your house if you're like, man, this is a problem for me. Or buy the 100%, have that in your house. If you really want chocolate, try that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, 90% chocolate's going to be super sweet. That's what I did.
Right.
So, yeah, there's strategies too.
Love it. Let's go into a little dairy here. Creamers and milk. A lot of people love coffee. They want to put creamer into their coffee. It's part of their gig, part of their deal. When it comes to creamer and milk, what do we suggest? What are the brands that we suggest?
Yeah, I use a canned coconut milk personally because it's such simple ingredients, because it's high fat naturally, so no fat needs to be added. So it's called Native Forest Simple. It says simple because there's no gar gum. Again, it's not that gar gum is really truly bad. For some people with digestive issues, it could be an issue. So I just stay away from it because there is an option without it, and it tastes great. So I'll take the jar of coconut milk, I'll put it into, or the can, I'll put it into a jar for the week, and then I'll just use that as my coffee creamer. I also have used intermittently layered superfood creamer, the unsweetened kind. And I like that for traveling because then it's not much of a mess, right? You don't have to worry about liquid. So I add that to my coffee. Because we've talked about this before, we have a whole podcast on it. Most oat milks and a lot of almond milks too will have canola oil, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, these different oils that are those more highly inflammatory oils that are not so great for one digestively and for our inflammatory processes in our body anyways. So again, if you do well with dairy, go for the grass-fed whole milk or half and half for your coffee. Always choose unsweetened. If it's a little bit of stevia, great. If it's a little bit of coconut sugar, okay. But again, look at what you're doing daily Are you reaching your goals? Yes or no? And then adjust from there in terms of the sweetener. My favorite brands, though, in terms of alternative to dairy milks, Malk, MALK, or Three Trees. Those are my top 2 brands that I will buy if need be for like a nut milk.
Right. And again, depending on the person with dairy, this may be something that you might just skip over. I'm like, oh, I don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet for a lot of people who like the creamers in the coffee, being able to choose wisely here is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, if you do well with dairy, like my husband does half and half, but we get the organic kind in the glass bottle, and it's great. But we have our own for that.
Great, love it. So we covered a lot there, and we said from the beginning, guys, there was going to be a lot that we were going to be covering here. It's all going to be in the show notes to be able to walk through this. So that was a lot of the food, right? Now we're going to move on to the protein. We talked a little bit about the protein powders, protein bars, right? How tough it is, how a lot of people are getting stuff from Costco. Let's dive into the protein powder in itself, and what are the ones that we suggest?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, this is where you have to determine if you're going to do dairy or whey or not. Like, do you do well with dairy and whey? Great. That is the most bioavailable protein, the most efficient. So then if you're going to go that route, what I recommend as an optimal choice is called naked whey protein because they use grass-fed whey. Very simple ingredients. They use a touch of coconut sugar, a touch of cacao, say if you get the chocolate flavor, and that's it. Like very simple.
Right.
Yet if you're the person who's like going from like the GNC really
Fruity
rich
Pebbles.
tasting, then there is a little in between to warm you up. It's like the Zevia from soda to Zevia to kombucha, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So Ascent, ASCENT away is a good option. Yet they use sunflower lecithin, and again, that's an ingredient that I'm iffy on. There's not a ton of research about it. I avoid it though. Again, gotcha. And it's just sweeter tasting. And again, we want to move away from the super sweet tasting things to adjust our palate slowly and naturally over time.
Right.
So Ascent is one that I recommend if you're going to do that. But again, naked whey, if you're like, no, I don't care about the taste, your palate will adjust. Mm-hmm. Give it time. Naked whey is my favorite. If you're not going the whey route, such as myself, I stay away from the dairy and whey in general. For me, Amy Meyer's Paleo Protein is my favorite because it is a beef isolate, aka that's a complete protein, which a lot of people who are skipping out on the dairy, they go for like the pea protein or the plant protein that's not usually complete, which some brands do a good job of mixing the plant proteins to make a complete protein. But again, digestively, they tend to, at least for me, and I know a lot of other people, digestively, they don't work out well. And they're not as efficient. You're not absorbing as much of the protein or utilizing it. So money down the drain, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So Amy Meyer's Paleo Protein. If you're wanting one other option, Naked brand, again, who does the whey, they do an egg white protein that is a good one too. Very simple. I think it's literally just egg white protein as the ingredient.
Yeah.
So
I'm a huge naked whey guy. I put in my yogurt. I'll mix it in my drinks. To me, it's totally sweet. I can't imagine something being sweeter.
Yet, yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot. I mean, the other day I literally saw, that's why I said Fruity Pebbles. There's a Fruity Pebbles protein powder.
It's probably that Ghost brand I was talking about.
Oof,
they do that.
Oof,
yeah. Right. But it's again, if you have those side by side, yes, you're going to notice a difference. But if that's the only option you give yourself, again, give yourself a week. You will be like, oh, actually, this is great.
Totally.
Let your mouth adjust.
Totally. Okay, so those are the whey and non-whey options. What about collagen? That's another source of protein. What about collagen? We see a lot of that. You're seeing the brand in Costco, Vital Proteins, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about collagen? We know collagen is important. We did an entire podcast on that. What's the collagen brands?
Yeah, that's definitely one you do. Again, want to be paying attention to if they test for heavy metals or not. Vital Proteins is a better brand. I like it it's plain and simple. They're straightforward. They do tell you the quality of it. So I like that one. And we also really like Bubs Naturals.
Mm-hmm.
So we support them because they do grass fed. They're a good company. So Bubs Naturals, Vital Proteins. There's a couple more. So Further Foods is a good one if you're looking for like a flavored one, like a chocolate or vanilla. I recommend that to people who are doing like a very plain. So say you do the egg white protein, but you want some flavor with it, add like a chocolate Further Foods collagen protein, right?
Gotcha.
And then Ancient Nutrition, I have used before, yet they don't disclose as much in terms of the quality. So that one's not 100% approved, but that is a better option than many out there for sure.
Gotcha.
And then there are, if you do really want to go the plant protein route, there are some better options. The ones I have for you as an option is Perfect Plant Protein. The brand is called Perfect Supplements. There's a brand called Pure Food. And those are the ones that I would recommend if that's your option.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they do try their best to make it a complete protein without the weird fillers and ingredients.
Right. Right. And there's a lot of different brands out there, you guys, that are going to promise the world, particularly in the supplement world. Woof. Man, anybody can start a supplement company. Anybody. And it's quite easy. They just go, oh, you want to start Emily and Joel supplement company? Cool. We're mass producing it for the 20,000 other supplement companies. We'll just slap your name on it, and then you can market however you want to market it. Doesn't mean that's good for you. So those are the protein powders. We talked about protein bars, how a lot of people are hooked on protein bars. Is there better protein bars or protein substitute options where it's like, man, I got really quick. I would like to be able to have some protein, yet do I want to be hammering down on builder bars?
Yeah, definitely not builder bars. If you're going to go for it, like I mentioned, like I'd rather you now go towards like a jerky or meat bar. But if you're like looking for something every once in a while to have on the go, Perfect Keto is a brand I really like. Don't believe it's in any stores, so you do order it online. In the stores, there's one that's similar to that called MCT bar. That is like sometimes I'll have that every once in a while as like a sweet treat, just because I like the texture for whatever reason. Primal Kitchen does have some bars. They're okay in terms of like taste wise.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Dang bars. I have that with my kid as like a little treat. It's more like a granola bar. It's like the texture is a little more like chewy bar, but not so. Anyways, good ingredients. That one does taste really good, just not super high in protein. So to me, it's a treat. And then Vital Proteins does a bar as well, and it's okay, but it has whey in there. So again, if you do well with whey, that'd be a good treat here and there as well. And then again, I used to like RX bars. It's not ideal, optimal because it's not organic, but good ingredients otherwise. There's one more I will mention. Atlas bars. They do a grass-fed whey protein bar that has pretty good ingredients as well, and I've seen it at Sprouts. So Atlas bars as well.
I saw you with that soft talk.
I know. Right when I said it, I was like, "Ooh, Joel's gonna get me."
Mm-hmm. Like,
pretty.
Really? Is it good or is it not good? Is it good or
Depends
not
who you
good?
are. That protein bars. I'm like, I hear people all the time like, "Oh, that's terrible." I'm like, "Oh, that's good," or vice versa.
Well, not the taste, but is it good?
Oh yes, yeah. I'm not gonna put anything on here that's not like ingredient wise.
Good. Then firm talk it is. Firm talk it is.
Thanks for the coaching session.
That's right. That's how it works at Proclivity, guys. Come on over. We're listening to your language all the time. Okay, so we got the protein bars. We got the protein powders. There's another thing that we use daily, and a lot of people are using more and more, MCT oil. I love my MCT oil. I use Bubs. It helps me because a lot of days I'm doing extended fasts, and being able to have some MCT oil in the morning helps to give me that energy, that boost, particularly because I'm pushing back my caffeine. What's the MCT oil that we suggest? What are the brands we like?
Yeah, Bubs. There's a lot of talk in the MCT world of whether like C8 or C10 or C11. There's different types. That's like quote unquote better. But yeah, Bubs. I love the powder because it's easier to digest, easier to travel with, mixes much better than any other that I've tried. Organic Now Sports. So like Now Sports is the brand. They have an organic version. I used to use that. That's still a good one. But again, I've switched to the powder out of ease and better digestion for me.
Totally. Do you use MCT oil daily?
I don't use it daily. I'll use it if I'm trying to take a little break from creamer, or if I want a little extra boost and I'm like fasting or skipping a meal and I'm like, I need some fat for some energy.
Yeah.
Then I'll use it.
Or whole cashews. That's an inside joke, folks.
Love me some cashews.
We crush cashews at work.
Yeah.
Straight.
We got to get away from those.
Well, I went to Costco.
Too many.
I didn't buy it this time.
I was thinking about it.
I'm not buying it this time. No, Joel.
Good choice.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love some cashews right now. I know. So now we've done the food. We've done some of the supplementation in terms of the proteins. Last final thing, household products. We're going to list some of these household products off for you guys. And these are huge ones to be able to start making your transition on, because your palate does not have to change on this. Yes, maybe the other sense, instead of taste, it's smell, might have to change. Yet, just like taste, you will adjust to new smells, right? And be able to go, oh, okay, I can deal with this. So what are the household products that we suggest that we've tested, and which ones are we telling people, hey, it's time to start switching out?
Yeah. So number one, for all your house cleaning products, I use this for laundry. I use this for dishes. I use this for counter spray and bathroom spray and floor spray. It's all one brand. It's one concentrate. It's the best. Branch Basics. There's zero fragrance, really good ingredients, and it does a good job. I just had someone text me like, holy cow, this works better than my other cleaner. I'm shocked. And so the only thing is with the laundry detergent, if you want a little smell in there, I add here and there, like say every other wash or every third wash. It's an essential oil brand of laundry. It's called Zoom. I think it's pronounced Zoom, Z-U-M. And their frankincense and myrrh is my favorite smell. So I'll just do a touch of that with the Branch Basics for my laundry. Otherwise, for all the countertop sprays, the dish soap, just use it plain. And there's directions on their website of how to mix the concentrate. So you buy this big bottle, you mix it in different bottles. You can buy either glass bottles, or they provide you with some options and show you where to fill it with the concentrate and where to fill the rest with water. It's awesome. I recommend that for everyone. The makeup and shampoo, I use Beauty Counter for makeup. Makes it easy. I trust them as a company for sure in terms of it's safer beauty. I use their shampoo as well. I've tried different shampoo options, like cheaper ones from like Sprouts, whatever. They just don't work for me. My hair stays oily. I don't like it. So Beauty Counter is my favorite for shampoo, conditioner, and all makeup. And then for body wash, to keep it simple, I love Dr. Bronner's. So I use their eucalyptus or tea tree scent, but they have lots of different options in terms of their essential oil that they add in. But it's a cost-effective. You can even use Dr. Bronner's for house cleaning projects, or even as a counter cleaner or hand wash as well.
Nice. And that's something that I've been switching over from, is like all these different household products, Tupperware, plastic Tupperware, different fragrances. One of the big things for me is, I'm slow switching too, guys. This is a continued process, is the smells. I love my cologne. I love the smells. Right? It's great. Is there any perfumes or colognes out there that that you can suggest?
To be honest, I've seen brands come out. I have not delved into them to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to use. I personally use the brand Sage, Sage. It's like doTERRA. It's an essential oil brand, and I use just one of my favorite smells from them as my like perfume, if I want to. Or I just like for the daily, I have my Fatco deodorant that has a scent in it, and we trust Fatco highly too in terms of beauty products of like simple stuff, lotions, balms, face toner, deodorant. That's what I use them for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I use. And I have not come across, I've seen it advertised on Instagram, but I have not dove into like do the research behind what the actual ingredients are.
Yeah.
But essential oils are a safe bet for sure.
Totally. Totally. And Fatco, naming off Fatco. Love that. Fatco does a really, really great job, guys. I use it. The face cream and the different oils. I mean, it's really nice stuff. It's really nice stuff. So, you guys, this has been a long one. This is one of our longer ones, right? Without a guest on. Yet we wanted to take you through those brands. You can see we've vetted a lot of brands out there. And again, you can go into the show notes. You can look back. If you want the trusty brands list, reach out to Emily at proclivity.co. Okay, Emily at proclivity.co. Or you can reach out to her on Instagram or our Instagram. Or you can email us team@proclivity.co, whatever works for you. Okay. And to leave them off here, Emily, we've talked a lot of different brands here. Real quick, real easy. Top 3 brands that we have, that we trust, that we use the most.
Yeah. Broad Sweeping, Primal Kitchens for your sauces and dressings, Branch Basics for your house, cleaners of all sorts, and then Naked Protein because I get asked about protein all the time.
Yep.
So those are the top 3.
Boom. Just like that, you guys. Just like that. We love what we do. Emily, you love what you do?
Of course. Yeah, very lucky.
We are very lucky, and we would love to be able to work with you or your family members or anybody else. If you guys are interested in learning more, feel free to reach out to us. We have a ton of different resources. If you're just curious and you want to get to learn more, we give a free clarity call, 45 minutes long. You can talk about anything that you're going through. If the Proclivity method is a good for you and us, we'll suggest it. If not, we'll say, hey, here's your resources. Continue on your way. You're listening to one of our best resources, which is our podcast. If you've liked what you've listened to, it really helps us if you like and subscribe and review. 5 stars, plus a little comment goes a long ways for us. So we would love it if you did that. Coach Emily, anything else before we sign off?
No, thank you guys for listening all the way through. I'm sure this has taken a few drives to listen through. So if you guys have questions, just shoot us an email or a message on Instagram. Happy to help.
Happy to help. All right, you guys, that's it. Episode 83 is in the books of the Proclivity podcast. We hope you have an incredible week. We'll see you back next week for episode 84. And until then,
best day ever.
best day ever. Let's go.
See ya.